Okay, so anyone have anything they'd like to share this morning? Ask any questions or comment on?
I'll share two things real quick.
Okay.
First is I really want to thank you. You're in the tapping part. You are talking about you are helping us connect with the vibration and feeling the vibration, the resonance, and feeling the physical vibration and how that relates to the energy vibration. And that was super helpful. I felt like it helped it feel not localized, but like my whole body, as you said, resonating. And it felt better for my whole body and better for the area that I was tapping. And also it felt like feeling the connection between the energy vibration, the physical vibration. It felt like it was really surprising how much the energy vibration went up, like the frequency, and then how much that helped the physical part resonate and relax. So that was really, really helpful. I just wanted to share that. And then also with the standing meditation, doing Dantian breathing, I had an experience where it was really interesting. As I was doing the breathing, it felt like the Dantian was heating up, and then it felt like it was heating up my field, which I hadn't really experienced. It felt like my field just kept getting warmer and warmer. And I had experiences where like the field gets stronger or brighter. And I've used kind of like intention to try to heat the field, but I never had an experience like this where just doing the breathing, just, without really any effort, just doing the Dantian breathing, it felt like my field was kind of like filled with fire and was getting hotter and hotter. So that was really cool and gave me some more insight into kind of how like cold training. So I just want to share those two things.
Yeah, that's interesting. You hadn't experienced your field getting warm like that.
I had experienced it a little. When I do the breathing, typically, but not like this. It felt like my field got as hot as my Dantian. Typically, it feels like my Dantian is hotter and then my field warms up, but it felt like my field was as hot or if anything hotter than my Dantian.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That is actually what the proper cold training is. You literally don't feel the cold. Like it feels like everything is balmy. That's the reason why.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was actually a good experience. That's actually a proper experience. As the Dantian actually heats up, you feel that actually heats up like your Dantian. And actually, there's like really no distinction. It just kind of feels balmy inside. And so it's kind of like the experience of the whole Dantian, like your whole feels like Dantian, but but having said that, it's actually connected to what you're saying. When you're tapping your body, you felt it amplifying your field or in your chi, and that the connection where you felt that the area that you're tapping actually felt just as good, like even better when you're feeling the whole body kind of drumming and vibrating, and then that actually affecting your energetic field. It's actually the same experience as that.
That makes sense.
Right. And so it's one of the reasons why I always say that the Dantian is actually not an energetic thing, and it's not just a physical thing. You have both. You need to actually experience both, and it's one of the reasons why I tell people, you need to actually do the diaphragm exercise and the inward exercise, or where you're pumping your Dantian to warm it up, because if your Dantian physically is weak, it will not heat up over time. But like in the very beginning, if your body's weak and you can't quite do it, then you need to just start with just gentle breathing. But you really need to train your physical breath. And so that's why actually sometimes people will be meditating for years and not getting any result because the physical body stays weak. It's kind of interesting because, I've been to three different Taoist schools, and like each one has a different emphasis, right? And so the last one's emphasis was kind of more on the chi, like, oh, it's like pure chi, like he. And so I kind of like the idea, and so I kind of went with that because I like the idea, it being just pure chi. Seemed more effortless and seemed more like in line with everything. And then when I met my last teacher, it was kind of interesting because he said, well, the chi can only get as strong as the physical body can support it. And then it clicked. It actually kind of clicked. I was like, oh, you can't actually just focus on the energy. It helps, but actually it's limited to where your physical body is. And so you have to actually train. That's actually why you do conditioning exercises and you lift weights and things like that. The only difference is that you actually do that in conjunction with your chi training. So like you cannot just ignore your body. You have to bring it along, and you have to train it just as much, and you have to try and spread your chi to as much part of your body as possible. And that's actually the only way to really achieve a good amount of inner heat. And you'll notice that any kind of inner heat training that is well developed, you'll notice actually has some form of pressurized breathing exercise. Like in the Indian system, they call it Kriya, very heavy breathing. And then in the Tibetan system, you'll actually also see like really highly pressurized breathing. They call it the winds. And you have to feel the winds inside your body, the pressure of the breath. And you'll notice that, yeah, it's like, so any good, and it's not that there aren't inner heat systems that actually primarily use visualization and intent or meditation to achieve it. And it's not that it's not possible, but at least from what I've seen, it's like you have a higher chance of getting there if your physical body is actually supported for the reasons I've been talking about. So it's actually one of the reasons why our system has actually as high an emphasis on the physical system and understanding it as much as on the energetic system. And it tries to hit a balance between the two, because they have different, they're the different parts of the different pieces of the same puzzle. And you really wanna, and they help understand the function of each other, because they're opposite sides of the same coin. So, but anyways, it's good sharing. That's good, good experience that you've had. And so, as you're doing your breathing, make sure that you continue to keep opening up your physical dantian. If your physical dantian is not open, that means that the chi is actually not flowing through it. And that means that the amount of chi you can experience will be limited.
Thank you, Master Kim. That is really helpful. And what you're saying makes total sense also in my experience, because before I came to these practices, I had the experience you talked about, like meditating and not really having result because my physical body couldn't support it.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember feeling like something was wrong with me because it seemed like other people were having some benefits and I wasn't. And also like that experience of like wanting to just do it all with my mind or with the energy because I didn't have any confidence I could do it, like physically, at least in my case. And then like, since I've been also working with the body, feeling like the results have been much, much more.
Yeah. If you look at the systems, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's a term for it, and it basically means not elite, 고급. It means like a high level or like high value systems that basically kind of like it's like basically elite systems or like highly developed systems, or there's a term for it, and tai chi is supposed to be like a high level system or like an elite system or things like that. And it's kind of interesting, when I was talking to some of my teachers, my teachers would say that some of these high level systems, they have the tendency where they see the fruits at the end, and then they go with that and they abandon the basics, thinking that if you train what comes at the end, you are gonna get there faster. But basics are basics, and if you abandon the basics, you actually don't get there. And I actually see that. You kind of lose a sense of reality, and it becomes more and more theoretical. It's not that you don't get some benefits, but I find that it tends to lose a certain sense of reality. And I've seen some systems where they lose sense of reality, where it actually becomes ineffective, such as like doing pushing hands or when sparring. It was kind of interesting having this experience. I was visiting a school, and I did something, and the person who was teaching couldn't handle what I was doing. And the person said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Oh, how come?" The person said, "Because if you do that, you're in danger of," it was actually, says, "You can't raise your elbow." And the person said, "You can't raise your elbow like that because you expose your ribs, and and that's bad habit." Now, having said that, it was kind of interesting because the person said that because the person was trying to utilize a gap that the person perceived was there when I raised my elbow, and their hand was there, but they couldn't do anything. The person got frustrated and then basically was telling me what they had learned. And I had learned actually similar things before, but one of my teachers said, it actually really doesn't matter whether the physical elbow rises or not. The real question is actually whether the chi is sunk. The physical elbow actually can come up as long as you're connected in the chi. And as long as there's flow, it's actually okay, because when there's flow, it's not like a sitting duck where the other person can actually utilize that gap. For that to happen, the person needs to be a sitting duck, because if it's a moving target, then you can't really hit it. So there's like a different kind of reality that comes from actually having a lot of struggling experience. And the system that I learned was basically, you need to know what it's like to struggle before, and become comfortable with that before you can actually practice not struggling. And nowadays, actually, in a lot of schools, when they're teaching pushing hands, they say that you're not allowed to struggle. If you use any strength, they say that it will create bad habit. But then there's no training to help the person deal with the struggle. So people are not used to struggle. So then once they're in a real situation, they end up actually in a bad way. Now, there are some systems where they help you through the struggle, staying relaxed, and that's actually really important. So in those cases, those systems are effective because they help you through the struggle. But the key thing here is that if you don't have that realistic experience, then the only thing you can do is fall back on theory. And and that is actually the same thing that's happening with a lot of meditation and things like that. It's like, to me, I believe it was Suzuki Roshi, Zen master, famous Zen master, that said this. He said, if there's a stone in your shoe, don't try and meditate away. Take off your shoe, take out the stone, and then meditate. And so it kind of shows like the difference between living from practicality using these things and then actually the theoretical that kind of becomes, how do I say this, it becomes like an idealized picture that people go for that doesn't exist, and therefore it actually impedes from helping you get to where you want to get to, such as experiencing inner bliss that is a natural byproduct of someone finding balance between the energetic system and the physical system. Anyways, I kind of just wanted to just talk about that, because as people are training and as people are cultivating and endeavoring, it's not uncommon for people who have been really dedicating to energy to kind of ignore the body because they've been taught that it's not good. And I feel that actually just to kind of, if that person is stuck in the training, to be able to shift their focus and seeing whether they can bring more balance by actually trying to develop the body more, that could actually probably really be helpful. Since this is an area where I see people struggling quite a bit, especially people who have a lot of energy experiences.
Thank you, Master Kim. I really appreciate the context, and I really appreciate the approach isn't making one more important or better than the other. That they can work with each other. And because I've also, I think because of my nature, gravitated towards systems where it's considered that the body is a lesser thing and its purpose is to it's really only there to support the mind or to support the energy. And what I really like about this approach is that it doesn't privilege one over the other. They so anyway, I just wanted to share that, and thank you for that.
I feel like that was really well said. I appreciate you saying that. Who knows? I'm actually fine with this idea that the body is there just to support the mind. I'm actually good with that. However, what I would say is, okay, if that's true, then let's make sure that the body can really support the mind. How would you do that if you don't work on your body and the body's not there to support the mind?
Indeed.
So that's why, and I think the reason I wanted to say this because I want to really distinguish practicality and theory, if you will, because theoretically, I'm not so sure that I have come across too many theories by theory themselves that were not accurate or that didn't make sense. And so I think that's fine. If someone says that, that's fine. I think that's actually, in itself, a good belief system. Having said that, so I think that the issue is not with that. I think the issue is with the actual practice. The only question I want to ask is, does it work? Is it working for you? And so if we do want a privileged one, I think I'm good with that, as long as it works. And so the reason I said that it wasn't, it's actually for anyone who's feeling stuck in their practice, and then the feeling like, oh, I'm just not finding a solution here. In that case, maybe they should actually look at, enhancing the physical parts more, because I got no interest in commenting on someone else's system, but I am interested in helping individuals in different systems get to where they want to get to if they're feeling stuck, and maybe they can get a chance to look at something else that might actually help them through, even within their own system. So, but anyways, I appreciate you saying that, but I kind of wanted to just make sure that the last thing I want to get into is a discourse on whose system is right. I've never found that to be very fruitful.
Totally.
So I have found it to be very fruitful, though, to talk about, oh, you're stuck there? Have you tried this? That I found to be very fruitful. So anyways.
Thank you, Master Ken.
You're welcome. Okay, I am done cleaning, so I gotta scooch here. So you all have a great day of training and a great day of Kung Fu. Have a good time balancing the physical and the energetic, and may you have balance in your life.
Thank you so much, Master Kim.
Thank
You're
you, Master
welcome.
Kim.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Master Kim.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Mr. Kim.
You're welcome.